Probably a little story behind everything that I have here.
Hal Davis chuckles at the name his wife calls this room in their East Tennessee home.
And just sitting here in my, as my wife calls it, my I Love Me room, or my shrine, and I'm looking around and I'm saying, who is this?
Mementos on the wall mark a life of a Marine, combat veteran, Secret Service officer, Tennessee trooper, and federal investigator.
I'm like Forrest Gump all of a sudden.
And like that fictional everywhere man, this 69-year-old son of a Baptist preacher was forced early on in life to figure it out on his own.
I was kicked out of the house at 16. I lived on the street for a little over a year.
A self-described poor student prone to fights and partying, at the ripe age of 17, Hal needed his parents' signature to join the Marines.
My mother and father said, no problem. So they signed it and said, have a nice life. First thing it taught me was to keep my mouth shut.
After training, a lucky draw sent him on a 2-year mission to Spain, but orders eventually moved him to Vietnam and combat in a dark and dangerous piece of jungle known as Happy Valley.
There was a couple of hundred of them lost their lives and just a handful of us, but it was serious business. I can tell you that right now. I know what the fog of war is, and it was plentiful. I mean, a lot of rounds zinging. Boy, you just realize this is some serious stuff, and you see the body bags and everything, and it can't help but affect you. I didn't get any kind of wounds, very close, but no wounds, and don't know how I didn't. I could hear them snapping by my ear all the time. Growing up, I had gotten to know the Baker family, Senator Howard Baker. I used to mow their yard.
After his war service, Hal returned stateside and entered the University of Tennessee on the GI Bill. Then came a life-changing phone call from powerful Tennessee Senator Howard Baker.
He didn't beat around the bush. He just says, you know, I think you would be right for the Secret Service.
In the Nixon White House, Hal guarded the first family, but finding himself alone in the Oval Office gave him pause.
How did this kid with little or no education, booted out of the house, how did I get here? You know, and I still wonder to this day, actually.
He pulled security duty for the first black woman elected to Congress, Shirley Chisholm, right along with segregationist George Wallace. Hal was on duty in '72 during the assassination attempt on that Alabama governor.
I was with the vehicles when Wallace was shot by Brimmer on the other side of the mall. And, talk to the hand, move the vehicles. We've got an incident.
But this Tennessee boy soured on Washington. He didn't like the city, the politics, and he'd had it with White House protocol.
And I bought a Harley and used to ride it up the steps on the back wheel and lean it against the White House and go to work. So I knew my days were numbered. I've always thought I'd like to be a trooper.
Hal moved back to the volunteer state and into the uniform of a state trooper stationed in Chattanooga.
We were in a fight and a foot race every night, it seemed like.
The Marine turned Secret Service agent turned trooper was part of the posse in 1977 that tracked down escapee James Earl Ray. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassin broke out of Brushy Mountain Prison and spent 3 days on the run.
He was all covered up in leaves and sticks and brush, and he thought that was going to hide him, but he was more than happy to go back to jail. He was just eaten up with bugs and stuff. Me and another trooper cuffed him up and got him on his way back to Brushy Mountain.
But after almost 7 years on the highway patrol, at age 29, Hal shared a new dream with his wife.
So I go home and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go back in the Corps. She said, you never left the Corps. Take the oath, if you will, and then I'm looking right down on the landing beaches.
On one of the most famous patches of ground ever to see a Marine charge, Hal Davis repeated his commitment to the Corps atop Mount Suribachi on the island of Iwo Jima.
And it was so peaceful, and the breeze was just whipping the flag that was up there, and I was saying, boy, I don't even deserve to be here.
As a newly minted drill instructor, he would train more than 500 Marines.
Well, drill instructor school about finished me off. That was absolute torture. And old Frankie Sinatra says I did it my way. It's exactly what I did, it my way.
Hal capped his career as a federal investigator. He's held a room full of jobs and titles, but to one, he's always faithful.
Of all the things I've done, nothing has stood out like being a Marine.